finishing touches on spring training, with opening day just 8 days away. Today, left-hander Blake Snell goes to the hill as Tampa Bay faces AL East rival, the Boston Red Sox. Gathering at the Charlotte County Sports Complex for spring training baseball. Beautiful afternoon in Port Charlotte. The Tampa Bay Rays will host the Boston Red Sox. Hi again, everyone, and welcome to an afternoon of Grapefruit League baseball with Brian Anderson, Dwayne Stats. So good to have you aboard. A gorgeous day for baseball as the Rays and the Red Sox meet for the 5th time this spring. And the Rays will send the big left-hander, Blake Snell, to the hill, looking to find his command.
Well, you know, Dwayne, this is what we know about Blake Snell. He definitely has the swagger and the stuff to compete and succeed at a very high level. But there's been one thing that's been elusive, and that is consistent command, especially of the fastball. So you know that that's going to be a focus today. He's going to approach this start today like it's a regular season start. Be aggressive early with the fastball, establish that in the zone, and then let his very good secondary pitches go to work. That's when he's most effective, and that's when he's able to go out and get consistent results. That's the goal today.
And toward that end, during our telecast, we'll hear from the Rays pitching coach Jim Hickey in the bottom of the 4th inning. We'll also chat with Kevin Cash. And coming up next, Alex Cordery will join us. She'll chat with Kevin Kiermaier. Rays baseball just around the corner.
Tampa.
Now let's go down to Alex Cordery.
Thanks, Dwayne. Well, Kevin, just starting out, congratulations. It was official this week. You signed a 6-year contract extension with the Rays. What do you make of the club's commitment to you?
It's a beautiful thing. That's all I can say. You know, the Rays drafted me back in 2010, and the Rays it's all I know. So I'm very happy to continue this commitment I've made towards them ever since I first signed, and for them to put this confidence and trust into me and sign me this is a life-changing moment for me, and will be so forever grateful for it. And you know, just being rewarded for all my hard work over the years it's a very satisfying feeling. So I'm very pleased with it.
April 2nd is approaching quickly. So what is the Rays Gold Glove center fielder working on these final 8 days of spring training?
Just staying locked in as possible. I'm trying to have good at-bats, take those, you know, as many as we can get here, and try to really get the timing and everything down. And because once the regular season comes, there's no excuses. So trying to stay locked in there, have your body keep feeling good as possible. And then throughout the season, just keep the consistency at a high level. That's the key for me, and I think I'm going to display that a lot better this year. But instead of talking about it, I'm going to be about it. And I'm going to back that up, and it's going to be a good year for us.
Kevin, great stuff as always. Thank you very much for your time. Dwayne.
All right, Alex, thank you very much. Let's take a quick look at the Boston lineup. Wilson Castillo is going to lead it off. He will be in center, followed by Pablo Sandoval at third. Chris Young's the DH. Josh Rutledge at first, hitting cleanup in front of Marco Hernandez at second. He's been hot all spring. Blake Swihart is the catcher. Steve Selski is in right field. Bryce Brent's in left, hitting eighth. And Evan Marrero is the shortstop, and he will hit ninth.
Blake Snell, you see his season a year ago with the Rays, 19 starts, record of 6-8. This is a big start for Blake. This is one of those towards the end of spring training where you're out there looking for results.
And the first pitch, Fielding Culver says that's a ball. And we are underway, 79 degrees under clear skies. Castillo lifts it foul, out of play, and so the count is 1-1. It's been something in regard to Snell that you mentioned, and command, something that right from the first outing of the spring has been an issue for him. And he's talked about his delivery and says he's very much aware of why he's not getting to the point that he'd like to be, but consistently correcting it has been the issue. And a base hit off the 1-2 pitch. Castillo will make the turn and hang on. Red Sox have a base runner, and we'll set the defensive alignment for the Rays.
Let's take a look at that. The Rays are going to line up this way. In the outfield, left to right, we've got Corey Dickerson, Kevin Kiermaier, and Steven Souza Jr. And across that infield, third to first, Evan Longoria, Tim Beckham, Brad Miller, and Ricky Weeks Jr. with Luke Maile behind the plate.
Well, here's Sandoval. He's had a good spring so far, trying to reestablish himself, and the Red Sox are looking for him to play third base this year.
Well, you think about the trade of Travis Shaw up to Milwaukee to bring in Tyler Thornburg to help out the bullpen, and all of a sudden third base wide open, and Pablo Sandoval has come in raring to go, and look at the numbers. Put some very good numbers up so far here this spring training.
Nice pitch right there, 0-2. The one thing Sandoval has done this spring is what he's done essentially throughout his career. He's come out swinging.
Oh, he does not get cheated. How many walks so far this spring?
One walk.
There you go. Enough said. That is the norm.
Center field. Kiermaier in position to make the catch out there. One away.
Well, Dwayne, before we ended up going to the defense, you go back, you were talking about Blake Snell and the tinkering with the mechanics and the things that you have to do during the course of a season, during the course of an outing. And that's extremely important, because you've got to be your own pitching coach out there. You've got to feel when you miss a pitch and know what to do to be able to jump right back up and be able to make the next pitch. And that's what he's been working on and tinkering with, if you will, this spring training. But there comes a time where you've got to start to put it together. And I think that this is one of those starts where Blake and the Rays, Jim Hickey for that matter, would love to see him go out there. And we talked about it in the open. Establish that fastball early and then go to the curveball, the little slider and the changeup, and have a nice outing, put up a nice line.
There's a strike to Chris Young. Well, Snell was in 19 games last year for the Rays, 6-8 overall. And for a young pitcher, he has to figure out how sometimes to make those adjustments on the fly. And Jim Hickey and Kevin Cash, for that matter, have both, in their own way, challenged him to do that. It's time now to take that next step.
And I like that approach. You know, you only do that when you know a guy can handle it, and a guy that, you know, is going to be able to respond to that. And they obviously, you know, feel that way, you know, about Blake. No more coddling. It's time to get it done.
Ball popping loose, and Castillo with a good secondary lead moves up easily on the wild pitch. So he's now in scoring position.
Yeah, tough pitch for Luke Maile here to handle. Tried to backhand that. You'd like to see him flip that glove over, try to smother it, but that one caught him by surprise. Easy advance.
But Snell has struggled this spring. He's been up a lot out of the zone.
And you can see him trying to make that adjustment and start this game down in the zone. I mean, he's tall. You know, Blake Snell, a tall, lanky lefty that has an over-the-top delivery. And so there are a lot of parts there that have to be in sync for Blake, or anybody for that matter, to be able to command the baseball.
This one is down 3-1. It's one thing to say, well, you just tuck the front shoulder and everything else follows. Well, that's true to a point, but doesn't necessarily mean that everything else, particularly when you have as much to coordinate as he does there in terms of being as tall as he is and as lanky as he is, to get all of that in sync.
It's a lot easier to tuck the shoulder when you're my size.
Lined into left. That ball charged by Dickerson to make the catch. Hit back to second goes Castillo. Nice job by Dickerson on a ball that's hit directly to him, but sinking, and not an easy play.
Not at all. This ball was scalded by Young. And you're going to see Corey Dickerson come right here, right off the tops of the shoes. And, you know, he's got enough upstairs to be able to think about making a play back at second base. Very nice play by the Rays left fielder.
Two gone with a man at second for Josh Rutledge. And that's a first pitch strike. The fastball coming in around 94 there.
When he's able to keep that pitch in the zone, look at the angle that he creates working downhill.
Two. Pretty good combination right there. The first two pitches to Rutledge. And an 0-2 base hit into center. Dickerson over into left center to make the pickup. Castillo scores, and the Red Sox take the early lead.
Well, there's an example of too much in the zone. In Blake Snell, we talk about him pounding that strike zone, but in an 0-2 count, he goes right back down in the zone with that fastball. And Rutledge just stays up the middle and hits that ball hard. You think about the first pitch of the at-bat, fastball down in the zone. You think about the slider down in the zone. You get him looking down, then you give him another fastball down there, and he's able to capitalize.
Now Marco Hernandez, who's hitting .417 for the spring.
Boy, his numbers are off the charts as far as spring training goes.
You see no home runs, but 6 doubles and 5 triples.
I mean, his OPS is above 1,200. Now, I don't need to quantify that for you. When you have a number in baseball, it's above 1,200. If you're not a pitcher, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that without hitting a home run is very, very impressive, almost impossible.
Are you old enough? Are you old enough, sir?
And he's out on strikes. 3 pitches takes care of him. A run on a couple hits. The Rays are coming in to hit. Red Sox with a run home. 6th inning. We'll take a look at the Tampa Bay lineup. Logan Morrison will be the DH today, followed by Kevin Kiermaier, and then Evan Longoria hitting third. Brad Miller, Corey Dickerson, and Ricky Weeks Jr. down the middle, with Tim Beckham in short batting seventh. Steven Souza Jr. in right, and Luke Maile will do the catching and hit ninth.
Taking the mound this afternoon for the Boston Red Sox, going to be right-hander Sean Haviland. See what he was able to do last year in Columbus AAA with the Indians. 7 starts, even up record, 3.40 earned run average. This will be his 3rd appearance with the Red Sox here this spring. It's always nice when you're a player looking to break through, to get an opportunity this late in spring in front of the big league staff to try to make something happen.
Well, here's Morrison. The pitch is upstairs. A ball, no strikes. On the count. Morrison at 158 for the spring.
Logan Morrison has been limited in his at-bats as he comes back from the surgery on the wrist, and so you're constantly working to strengthen that, to be able to get that bat speed back, which is what, at the end of the day, what makes you dangerous.
Two and two. To the left side. Red Sox had the shift on. That ball is going to carry out of play, so no chance.
There's the shift you're talking about, Dwayne. Load up on that right side. Nothing new there.
Sandoval on the right side of second base.
And you see that a lot. You know, you keep your shortstop over on the left side. He's going to give you a little bit more range. Take your third baseman, you put him over as part of that picket fence. You got it pretty well covered there on the right side. A lot of times you see that second baseman even a little bit deeper out into shallow right.
So lifted into center. That's Castillo making the catch, and Morrison is retired.
Let's take a look at the Boston Red Sox defense as it lines up here this afternoon. In the outfield left to right, we have Bryce Brentz, Rusney Castillo, and Steve Selski. Across the infield third to first, Pablo Sandoval, Devin Marrero, Marco Hernandez, and Josh Rutledge, with Blake Swihart behind the plate.
Here's Kiermaier taking a pitch too low. Well, we heard from Kevin before the game here this afternoon. And punches a liner caught by Marrero at shortstop. Kiermaier tried to get it over the shortstop's head there. And there's the second out.
Boy, nice job of trying to inside out that ball into left field. But Devin Marrero perfectly placed. I'll tell you what those replays don't show, were the outfielders behind Marrero scrambling to get into position to make that play, knowing that Kevin Kiermaier on balls like that will be looking to take the extra base.
Longoria fouled that first pitch back. He liked the location of that first pitch. He really had a good cut and fouled it right back.
Not a bad one right there, too. A breaking ball that looked to hang out over the plate. Two pitches that you better believe he'd like to see again.
Longoria with a home run this spring that came against Toronto. Ball, 2 strikes. Two. Given with a career high 36 home runs a year ago. And he fouls this one back.
Well, and that was by design. You know, he obviously had a tremendous year in the power department. But when you look at the balls that he hit in the air, you know, his ground ball percentage went way down, fly ball, line drive percentage way up. With this kind of power, that's going to lead to more extra base hits, more home runs.
Into right, Selski toward the line, and that ball is out of play. So out there on the berm. The fence juts out toward the foul line, and a souvenir. Well, Evan, with a 2-2 count, he has seen 6 pitches in this at bat and has seen 3 pretty good pitches to hit. And is out on strikes to retire the side. On to the second inning we go. 1-0 Boston. Inning with the Red Sox coming in to hit. Let's check in with Alex, standing by with Stu Sternberg.
That's right, Dwayne. And Stu, this is your 12th season as the Rays owner. So what's your assessment of this 2017 Rays team as we head into the regular season?
Fortunately, as it has been for a number of years, we're excited about the team. We think they're in position to put a great season together. For us, as opposed to a number of other teams, things really have to break our way. Guys don't necessarily have to outperform, but at least perform at their levels that they can get to.
So before the game, I was down in the team store, and everyone was buying number 39 jerseys. Earlier this week, it was exciting news. Kevin Kiermaier signing a 6-year contract extension. How do you best describe what he means to this club?
It's simply to see how the team faltered last year when he was out of the lineup and when he had hurt his wrist. We really, we just fell on our faces, basically. So he means a lot.
From one cornerstone player to another, looking at Evan Longoria, he was your first draft pick, and now last season he's coming off a career-best 36 home runs in 2016. So what do you think Longo has for an encore for us?
He really did set a new standard for us last year. Also, not he did it without a ton of protection in the lineup around him. So I think we feel good about having the guys around him in the lineup this year, even more so. Ready to produce. Logan Morrison got off to a really rough start last year, but Longo was just solid. I mean, and to keep him on the field, because he had a couple of years where it's tough to keep him on the field, and he's the cornerstone of our franchise, and I know he's going to be happy to see some of the pressure taken off for these other guys.
So we're talking strong defense, but what about strong pitching? And right now, looking at your lefty, Blake Snell, in what ways has coming up through the Rays system just helped Snell?
We have an expression which some people might remember was we will sell no wine before it's time. It was I think it was Paul Masson was the wine. Orson Welles used to do a commercial a little bit before your time, and so we like to make sure the guys come up here and are prepared for success. To rush a guy into the major leagues and then have them not have that success and be worried about going back down and coming back up, that yo-yo sort of thing. So we like to be extra sure and certain that these guys are ready for it and are prepared to go. And, you know, with Blake Snell last year, clearly he was. I know he's trying to dial it up now a little bit in spring training here, but I think the time is for all our guys, the pitchers and players included, that we've got our eye on opening day next Sunday.
Yeah, we can't wait. So this will continue to be a hot topic for the team, but what's the latest on a new stadium for the Tampa Bay Rays?
What stadium? No. Yeah, there was thanks for asking. We're moving along. We've been about a little over a year in the process right now, since we were given permission by the St. Petersburg City Council and the mayor to go forward and look in the region. And we're still examining all the sites that might be ideal for us to move to and build something in. And the sooner through the box, base it. The sooner we can get that done, the sooner that everybody can put that to rest, and we can have the revenues that ideally would pick up, go along with it, a facility that would be easier for our fans to access, something that they feel is more endearing to them. We think we have done everything we possibly can and continue to do with Tropicana Field, all the improvements we've put in over the years. We're installing new turf again this year, which is going in right now, and it looks great. So, you know, we'll have another nice look. And you know, the list of things that we've done at Tropicana Field are almost endless. But we are very excited about putting together something that is fan-friendly the way we see it, something that we look at as we call a porous stadium, where the citizens and the fans can come in even in off days and really have it feel part of a community. We feel right now surrounded by all the parking lots, are a little bit walled off from everybody else, and all the businesses that we'd like to be around. So we're going to try to find the pitch-perfect location the best we can. You know, I had spoken the other day that we were a little disappointed that a few sites that we had in mind weren't available. But fortunately, you know, we've still got some incredible sites in mind right now going forward. And I really firmly believe that, you know, before the end of 17, that we'll have something, you know, ready to go as we work with the municipalities.
So that's good to hear, but then as we get ready...
Always better when we're hitting, right? Not the other team.
It's true, it's true. So as we get ready for opening day, you did bring up the new turf. What do you think the difference that it's going to make? What are your thoughts on it so far, just the new turf at the Trop?
We have put in turf twice before. Technology keeps getting better. And you know, if you go back to when AstroTurf first started, it's because it was the Astrodome, the Houston Astros, and you know, I've seen examples of it. It was basically concrete with a thin carpeting above it. So could imagine what it did to the players' legs, as you know, and feet, and the injuries or whatever. So we continue to go at it, and most of this is done because the technology has allowed us to do things to make it play more like grass, never be grass, and have less of a factor for our players who play on it daily. We made a point of keeping the dirt all the way around, as opposed to just keeping the sliding spots where we are by each base. It's better for our infielders and also the opposing teams as well. It takes a lot of the strain off their legs. The outfielders do feel it, so we're mindful of that, and we're trying to put something in that'll be even better.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing it very soon. Thank you very much for your time. We'll let you get back to watching the game, and Dwayne, we'll send it back to you and BA.
All right, thank you very much, Alex. Great job. A little conversation there with Stu Sternberg. In the meantime, the Red Sox have put men at second and third with only one out. The count to Devin Marrero, the shortstop, is 1-1. With Blake Snell still trying to settle in here. Pitch is down, 2-1. Alex, you got one more thing?
We do. We have a message for you.
Welcome back, guys. I mean, outstanding. I'm looking forward, and I know all the fans are looking forward to hearing the two of you. And we've got a tremendous new addition here this year. As we had with our new manager, you know, we expect some mistakes and some errors. We're all going to learn from them going forward. But I can assure you that it, you know, was with a lot of hard work and choosing that we had to pick Alex. And Todd is really irreplaceable, but you're going to put your stamp on things here. And I know the fans will be excited to hear, and we wish Todd well in his new gig in Houston.
No, he's 18 years he was here, and just so much respect for him and very happy for him. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity and thrilled to join your broadcast team. So thank you, and you guys, now we'll officially send it back up to you.
All right. Well, thank you. And it's great to have Alex here joining our crew. And I think the sentiments about Todd go without saying. We're looking forward to great things for Todd in his new spot with the Astros. Full count on Marrero. Foul out of play. So we'll see another full count pitch here from Blake Snell.
Yeah, a new look to the crew this year, and no TK.
Yeah.
Now, I know how that would affect me. I mean, and I've only been here, you know, I don't know, 6-7 years now. But you, partner,
yeah,
that's been your right-hand man for a long, long time. Been through a lot together. But you gotta feel great for Todd to get that opportunity to go over there and be the man in Houston.
Yeah, we spent some time with him. Went over there to Houston a couple times with him. And,
nice.
So, you know, he is off and running. Marrero is out on strikes. 2 gone with 2 men aboard, and we'll go back around to the top of the Boston lineup.
Boy, Blake Snell, big pitch in a big spot right there. The one thing that we've noticed, Wayne, here early going, Boston Red Sox as a lineup, they are not getting off of Blake Snell's fastball. Fastball anywhere near the zone, they're coming unglued with their swings.
Rusney Castillo up here. No ball and no strikes.
Anytime you have a young guy on the mound with a big fastball, especially as a starter, you know that he's going to want to establish that pitch. And so teams are looking for it. And if the command of that pitch is not there, and I don't mean just strikes, it could be a strike, but it could be a strike out over the heart of the plate. And we've seen that a few times here this afternoon. The opposition will do some damage, as you can see right there. 342 off of the fastball, but then you see the averages off the secondary pitches. And that's why it's so important for a guy like Blake to pitch ahead in the count and be able to introduce those secondary pitches when he wants to.
Chop to third, charge, short hop pickup there by Longoria to take care of Boston. Couple of hits and 2 men left as we go to the Rays half of the second. 1-0 Boston. Say the Rays have more savings for you today and online only. Get 50% off lower level tickets for the game Friday, April 7th, when the Rays take on the Toronto Blue Jays at the Trop. Be a part of the action. Visit RaysBaseball.com/flash today. Rays up. Good spot out there on the berm. Comfortable afternoon in Port Charlotte.
I like that cast. Mine wasn't that color, and it was on a different leg, but I had one of those this offseason.
I did manage to see that for a short time, and of course, you know, you could show up tomorrow with a cast on the other one too.
It's remarkable.
At any moment.
It really is remarkable. Since the playing career ended, I've been a complete disaster physically.
Civilian life has been dangerous for you.
Right. It makes it very difficult to go through airports now. You think about the amount of hardware that I've had put into my body.
Yep.
And I'd like to think it was along the lines of the $6 million man, but I'm not getting any better. They're remaking me, that's for sure, but I'm still on that slope downward.
The remaking of BA. It's foul. 2-1. That's a cable channel special. The remaking of BA Part 1.
That would get ratings for about 10 minutes. But the good thing is I'm not drooling anymore. My nose is coming back into shape. My voice is almost there. So things are moving in the right direction.
I think the greatest story about you so far this offseason is, well, the broken foot. But in order for that foot to get well, you had to get sick otherwise. And you'd have to spend a week in bed because you were ill to help your foot.
Yeah.
Because you'd finally stay off it.
I was a little bit more active on the ankle than I probably should have been. And so the healing process definitely slowed down, but then I got nailed with that northern funk up in Ohio. And yeah, that put me in bed for a good solid week, but I came out of it better. Voice isn't quite all the way back.
I can relate to that.
I'm sure people can hear that at home, but the ankle, it helped out the ankle too. So we're coming full circle. Still spring training for us.
Yeah,
and my opening day, we're ready to go.
8 days.
Right on.
We'll be good. Miller out on the fastball, up, swinging through that one, and here's Corey Dickerson. The ball, no strikes. Well, the Rays would certainly like to be healthy, and not everyone will be to begin the season. And that's going to be a concern for Kevin Cash. We'll be chatting with Kevin later. We'll have some conversations about that. 1-1 here.
And that seems to be an epidemic, really, this spring training. A lot of key injuries to a lot of teams. You know, the Rays, you think about what they're going through. You think about Didi Gregorius with the Yankees, Chris Tillman with the Orioles. David Price, of course, had the elbow issue earlier in camp. He's not back to throwing yet. What's going on with the Indians and Kipnis, and there's a lot of guys that are being heavily counted on. May not be able to answer the bell at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, so if you were the Rays, you'd love to be healthy and take advantage of all that. See, Matt Duffy, he's not going to start the year at shortstop. And Brad Boxberger will not begin the year active either as a potential setup man.
Right.
For Colomé. And that's one of the things the Rays had hoped to accomplish this spring, was to figure out the path from the starting pitcher to the closer. This one is hit a long way, but foul. And that's not new for Dickerson. We've seen that great power, but it's a foul ball. Rays had hoped to establish a pretty much reliable formula to get the game to the closer, and they're still working on that.
Well, and so very important the way that bullpens are being utilized nowadays. You know, starters not getting as deep into games as they once did. Alex Colomé, what a year he had in 2016. That ERA below 2. 37 out of 40 in saves. Tremendous. But you're right, you got to be able to get the ball to him in those situations.
Dickerson the other way. Dickerson coming to camp this spring a bit more svelte.
It seems like every player goes into the offseason with an idea, what do I want to change coming into 2017? Bigger, stronger, slimmer, quicker.
So the count is full. And as a hitter, and you see his numbers this spring are very good. You get a little trimmer and you can get a little quicker sometimes.
Absolutely right. He had a quick bat last year. When you think about coming in, what did he say? He lost 20, 25 pounds. That's significant. And as you see by those numbers right there, hasn't lost any of the juice that goes along with it. That bat speed goes up just a little bit. And that ball's still going to fly.
Well, Dickerson hit 24 home runs last year and not altogether satisfied with his overall season a year ago. He'd like to make a point. There's a fly ball hit deep to left field. Brents will go to the track, and that one is gone. An opposite field home run for Dickerson. His 4th home run of the spring, and the Rays are on the board. That home run ties the game at 1.
I'll tell you what, Dwayne, when you look at this replay, just think strong hands, strong wrists. He flipped this ball over the left field fence. I mean, look at that wrist whip after he makes contact. And gets that ball out to left field. That's impressive.
So the Rays have hit 33 home runs this spring, and from that point of view, they picked up where they left off last year. And Ricky Weeks takes one down. Weeks has had a good spring, playing first base really for the first time in his career, and has been good down there. As impressive as those numbers are at the plate, his work at first base has been equally and maybe even more impressive.
Yeah, a very, very pleasant surprise for the Rays. A veteran. He's been around, played a lot of different positions, seen a lot of different things in this game. And boy, taking advantage of an opportunity here with the Rays.
2-1. And the word out of the clubhouse has been, Tim Beckham follows him today in the order, that he spent a lot of time with Beckham as well. Beckham came to camp with, I think, a renewed approach to this game, getting an opportunity. And Weeks, who took a great cut at that pitch and fouled it back 2-2. Weeks has been a part of that. And it really goes to, I think, a positive veteran presence on a team.
It's hard to quantify that, but boy, is it important. And it can be so beneficial.
Yep.
The right veteran in the right situation can really galvanize a team or a group of players.
Well, and you know this. You were in the clubhouse, and you know what a veteran presence means down there. And it's the game always in a state of change, and as much as it's changed now, that still has value.
It really does. I mean, this game played at this level, there is so much pressure that goes unseen by a lot of people. And when you have those veterans that you can lean on, that you can just observe sometimes and watch how they go about their business day to day, that can help settle down and calm down young players.
Well, you know what it was like to be a young pitcher. Young position players go through the same thing. Just because you're in the major leagues doesn't mean you don't have anything to learn. And you can have conversations with teammates your own age, but you have a conversation with a teammate who's been around for 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 years, they're going to have more information for you, and it'll have greater credibility coming from a veteran teammate than anyone else.
That's the key word, credibility.
Now Beckham sends one deep to right on a 1-0 pitch. Catchable, however, at the track. Selski back to make the grab. Home run by Corey Dickerson, an opposite field blast. And at the end of 2, the Rays and the Red Sox are tied 1-1. From Port Charlotte this afternoon. Our game tied 1-1. Let's go to the dugout now. Alex.
All right, Dwayne. Well, we're catching Matt as he's grabbing some water. I'm joined now by Rays pitcher Matt Andriese. And Matt, just take us through a day for you. What are you working on during spring training?
You know, just getting the body ready for the season. You know, this year spring training's been a little long, but you know, it's good for the guys to get in shape and just getting ready, prepared for the season.
So when you talk about getting your body ready for the regular season, 8 days remaining until opening day. So what's your focus?
Yeah, just, you know, just starting to get a little bit closer to season. You know, Blake's out here today. I'm just pretty much getting the innings in. You know, next start, I think I got 5 or 6 innings, so just building up, and, you know, it's coming quick.
Absolutely. What, when you look at this rotation, what are your expectations on just how good you guys can be?
Yeah, I think if we, you know, if we follow one another and kind of make it a competition, it'll be a lot better. But, you know, just go out there and take each day as it comes and build off each other.
When you talk about it being a competition, in what ways do you guys feed off of each other?
You know, just during the season, I think if, you know, somebody has a great outing, you just, you know, you want to replicate that. And I think that's what a good pitching staffs do, is just consistently go out there day to day and, you know, get their work in and give their team a chance to win.
Well, Matt, keep up the hard work these final 8 days, and we'll see you very soon at the Trop. Thank you for your time. Dwayne.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. 8-8 a year ago. There's a little chopper up the middle and a nice play. Brad Miller from second base making that play in front of the bag to get Sandoval.
Boy, it goes up to down. A chop here on Brad Miller that comes way up, and then the throw low, a nice dig by Ricky Weeks Jr. over there at first base. How about Brad Miller and his trek around the infield here with the Rays?
Yep. And has taken to second base pretty well. Of course, he played there before. Chris Young, the pitch is up. 1-0.
The one thing that he has done is made himself extremely valuable, showing the versatility to move around that infield to go along with the 30 home runs he hit a year ago.
1-1. Yeah, you think about his value since coming here.
Yeah.
30 home runs and the ability, of course, he had played a couple different positions in Seattle, but to be able to play the positions he has and add first base over there with that kind of power, it's done nothing but increase his stock. Absolutely.
And sometimes as a player you can be short-sighted and you say, I don't want to move there, I don't want to play. You know, there's different places that you'd rather not go to, and you totally get that. But you also understand what you're doing, like you said, to further your value, and a lot of times further your career. And boy, oh boy, when you talk about the power from Brad Miller and the way that he really exploded on the scene last year in that department, career high, 30 home runs, 81 driven in. How about this? 10 of the 30 went from center field over into left field, so he wasn't just a one-trick pony. That little leg kick is a timing mechanism, and let that barrel fly.
First pitch to Josh Rutledge is down 1-0. Yeah, the 30 home runs, one more than he had hit total in his first 3 years in the major leagues. It's a ball and a strike. Rutledge over this one. A ball, 2 strikes. Sandoval is grounded out. Young popped out to third. Snell trying to finish off this one and put together his first 1-2-3 inning. Gave up a run in the first on a couple of hits. 2 hits, but no runs in the second, leaving men at second and third. Fly ball back into right. Souza Jr. on the run to make the catch. It's a 1-2-3 inning. Home half of inning 3 coming. It's 1-1. Brought to you by W.B. Mason, the official office supply company of the Tampa Bay Rays. By Pods. Moving or in need of storage? Pods is the smart, flexible solution. And by Buick GMC. Rays and the Red Sox from Port Charlotte. Moving on to the bottom of the third. Boston with a run in the first. Corey Dickerson a home run in the bottom of the second inning. And the Rays are tied 1-1 as they send Steven Souza Jr. to lead off, followed by Luke Maile and then Logan Morrison. Souza with a home run this spring, coming off 17 last year. And a bunt, pretty good one. Sandoval tries to barehand it and cannot come up with it. Well, that could be a significant part of Souza's arsenal once in a while to bunt his way on.
Dwayne, you're a sandbagger. You just get done talking about the power of the home runs, and then how about that? A perfectly placed bunt. You catch Sandoval by surprise and easily beat that out for a leadoff single. Boy, well done. Nice to have that in the arsenal.
Sure is. Well, you know, that's a thing, and we know that Souza will strike out once in a while, and some power hitters do. But if you have that and you can utilize that, that can make a difference. You get one of those streaks where contact's an issue, you lay down a bunt or two until you work your way out of that.
Start to feel good about yourself, you know, those positive vibes.
1-0 the count to Luke Maile. That's a popper foul and will not be playable.
You know, I think a goal for the Rays offense this season should be along those lines, Dwayne, to once again set the record, franchise record for most home runs in a season and most bunt base hits. Be versatile.
It would help the on-base percentage.
Yes.
I mean, it's one thing to hit home runs. It'd be nice to hit them with a couple of men on base.
You think about the most dynamic offenses in the game of baseball. You know, they're going to be able to hit home runs, but you've got to find other ways to be able to score runs, because that's not always going to be there. Moving base runners, being able to swipe a bag every now and then, move them up, get them over, get them in, that type of offense. The more versatile you can be, obviously the more consistent you will be in scoring runs.
Leadoff man aboard. He pops it up, foul ball, and that will be out of play. Swihart and Rutledge both after that for Boston, but no chance. Chad Mottola, the Rays hitting coach, joined the team at the end of last year.
Really allowed him to get a head start, spend some time with the majority of the guys as the season ended through the offseason and now into spring training. There's that familiarity now that's built in.
Mahle shoots that ball fair up the left side, skipping over that fence up onto the berm. A ground rule double. Souza stops at third. Mahle picks up his second extra base hit of the spring.
Luke Mahle, a .355 average coming in, and he got a hanger from Haviland. The ball stays up in the zone, it stays flat, and you can see Luke Mahle able to stay back and keep that ball fair.
Well, another opportunity for the Rays. Nobody out. And here's the top of the order. Logan Morrison. John Haviland's pitch way wide. Haviland, 31 years old. Started his career in the Oakland system. It was back in 2008. Had elbow surgery in 2013. Pitched some in independent ball last year, and then with Columbus. Two and one. Pitch stayed wide. Haviland behind, 3-1.
Logan Morrison licking his chops right here. A couple of guys in scoring position. You got the perfect count to work with. Looking for something out over the plate. You can do some damage and give the Rays the lead.
Fouled in front of Rocco Baldelli up the right side. Rocco on the coaching lines at first. Charlie Montoyo across the diamond at third.
I love how the Rays have thought of everything too, giving Rocco Baldelli some time over at third base, just in case Charlie Montoyo gets run. Get him fired out of the game, you're going to need a replacement. So you got to work some time in.
Preparation. Got to be prepared. Check swing, ground ball. Sandoval will take it to first. No play at the plate. Souza Jr. scores standing up. So on the check swing grounder, Morrison picks up an RBI to make it 2-1. Mahle remains at second.
And Pablo Sandoval didn't even give a look to Steven Souza Jr. Ball wasn't hit hard enough. It was going to be a tough angle, so just take the play at first. Luke Mahle still stuck out at second base.
Well, here's Kevin Kiermaier. Made a bid to get one over the shortstop's head his first time. Guerrero made a leaping catch. Now Mahle's at second in scoring position with one out. Rays taking a 2-1 lead. short left. That's going to fall. Maley had a little difficulty reading as to whether that would drop in or not. So he remains at second.
Yeah, some cautious base running there by Luke Maley, back-to-back plays. And that ball off the bat of Kevin Kiermaier. Obviously, our perspective's a little bit different, but you could see that that ball had no chance of being caught, but Luke's got to read it from second base. He's just not quite sure, so he heads back to be safe.
So the base hit for Kiermaier puts him aboard, with Maley not advancing. Here's Evan Longoria. After foul, Evan got a couple pretty good pitches to hit his first time up there and fouled them back. Wound up striking out. And now up with a chance to open the lead a bit more. One ball, one strike. Rays trying to win for the first time in 5 games. They are 0-4-1 in their last 5 games in the Grapefruit League. It came on the heels of winning 4 out of 5 and going 4-1-1 in a 6-game stretch. There is a base hit up the middle. Maley headed to the plate. Kiermaier is going to be thrown out at third. And Longoria drives in a run to make it 3-1.
Well, Evan Longoria got another pitch up in the zone out over the plate. And you can see he hammers that hanging slider right back up the middle. Luke Maley, a chance to run here. He's going to come bounding home. And then Kevin Kiermaier, Rusney Castillo, alertly with a gun to third base, and they're able to get Kiermaier for the second out.
Brad Miller down to first. Rutledge backhands it with that first mitt. 3 unassisted on that play. The Rays with a couple runs in, and through 3, it's 3-1 Tampa Bay. We go to the 4th inning. Join us Saturday, April 1st at Tropicana Field for Rays Kids Pep Rally presented by Sagicor Life Insurance Company. Kids can watch Rays players take batting practice on the field, and kids can run the bases on the field afterward, courtesy of TGH. Gates open at 10 a.m. Be a part of the action. Visit RaysBaseball.com/KidsFest. Rays up. Marco Hernandez leads it off. First pitch is a strike. Blake Snell with a couple strikeouts so far. He's given up a run and 4 hits. It's 1-1. Blake Swihart next. And then Steve Selski, the right fielder, hits third. Grabbed by the shortstop Beckham. His throw close over there, and they just got the hustling Hernandez. Very close at first.
Put that in the notes.
Yep.
Marco Hernandez. That ball was well struck, and he made that a very close play because of the hustle out of the box. Tim Beckham was perfectly placed here. Now watch this. Get out and get going. What gets the top speed makes it a close play. Boy, it wasn't like Tim Beckham was that laissez-faire.
That's right.
That ball got to him in a hurry. He gathered himself and then made the throw. Just a great job by Hernandez getting out of the box and getting to that top speed as quickly as he did.
High fly down the left field line toward the berm and out of play onto the berm. It's 1-1. Two and one to count here on Blake Swihart. A little bit of a tough start for Snell in the first inning or two. He's shown some signs of being better here the last couple times out. Better command. 2-2 now. Well, the count is full. That's a strike call. He gets Swihart looking, picking up the second out of the inning. And his third strikeout. Let's take a look at that pitch.
Yeah, off speed. You can see how he keeps that right down at the kneecaps. And that's where Blake can be so very effective. You know, when you start to think about his arsenal, and if he's able to command that fastball and pitch from out in front, you think about the depth on the curveball, you think about the slider, just the angle that he's able to create, and then that changeup.
Selski breaks his bat. Beckham takes care of that. 1, 2, 3. Go the Red Sox in the fourth, but Weeks might have come off the bag. And that's going to be an error charged to Beckham. So it is not a 1, 2, 3 inning. Let's take a look here.
There's the throw, kind of from down under, get a little sailing action.
Wow. Take a look here.
You know, I think when Ricky Weeks goes back, that back foot he tried to, you know, find first base. And that's where he got caught, because initially it looked like he was on the bag.
Yep.
That he probably didn't need to do that.
Yeah,
and would
just
have gotten
sell
a
it.
call. Right.
Just go ahead and sell it.
Yep. That's what you have to do. But you know what?
I was buying.
Hey, listen, I had checked out. I was getting ready for the bottom half.
It's as it turns out, an error charged to Beckham. A little bit of a tough error.
It is a tough error, but it is a great teaching moment for Ricky Weeks Jr.
Yep.
And, you know, that'll be something that's addressed. Hey, listen, if it's that close, if you go back to the bag, that's the biggest tell, and they're going to call you off every single time. If it's that close, just sell it. Force the hand of the Boston manager. If he wants to...
I don't know.
Challenge that.
I don't know if there's such a thing as being too honest, but I've always thought first basemen who try to go back to the bag, they're a little too honest. You know, just go ahead and sell it.
That's it.
Yep. I mean, it speaks well for their character, but you're trying to get an out at first.
Priorities.
That's right. 2-1 now on Prince. Phillies have a 3-1 lead. And now a 3-1 count.
By the way, who is the Boston manager today? I think John Farrell, they have a split squad.
Yeah, Kevin Bowles is coaching down at third. He's the AAA umpire, or the AAA manager. A little chop to short. This time the short throw. Beckham to Miller for the force. So a man left on base. Rays up 3-1. We'll hear from Kevin Hickey. Jim Hickey. It's 3-1. Our ball game heads into the bottom of the fourth inning. Rays with a run in the second on a home run by Corey Dickerson, and a couple runs scoring in the third, driven home by Logan Morrison and Evan Longoria. They face the right-hander Sean Haviland. He's still out there on the hill. The Rays with Blake Snell 4 innings under his belt. And Corey Dickerson set to lead off. It'll be Dickerson, Weeks, and then Beckham coming up here in this frame. Dickerson with the 3-2, had an extended at bat and then hit one out to the opposite field in the second inning. Pitch is down. A ball, no strikes.
And you got a real good look at the power of Corey Dickerson, because he flipped that ball over the fence in left field. There is a little bit of a breeze moving that direction, but that was impressive nonetheless.
Here it is. We'll take a look. There's some strength on display right there.
There is no doubt about it, especially when you talk about going the opposite way. Strong forearms.
Popped foul and is out of play. Raised 3 runs and 5 hits off this right-hander. Picked up 3 strikeouts, hasn't walked anybody. And that's upstairs 2-2. Alex standing by with the Rays pitching coach Jim Hickey right now. Let's go down to the dugout. Alex?
I am. Thanks, Dwayne. And Jim, let's get right into it. What do you like that you've seen from Blake Snell today so far?
He's filling up the strike zone pretty well. The last inning, a couple of 3-ball counts, but prior to that, he was probably ahead out of 12 out of the 15 or 16 hitters that he faced.
In what ways has this spring training been different for him? What differences have you seen in Snell?
Well, I think it's a whole different feeling when you come into spring training, kind of knowing that you're going to be in the rotation. So you have a tendency to not stress the actual performance so much and do the things that you need to do, work the process a little bit more, if you will. And I'm not sure if he was guilty of that or not, but I think that's probably a heck of a lot different mindset than, you know, trying to battle and claw and make the team.
So looking at this rotation, and I just want to ask you about your opening day starter, Chris Archer. He talked about 2016 as being a tale of 2 seasons. What do you think the difference was for him the second half of the season?
Just about the same as we were talking about with Blake, getting in the strike zone a little bit more, eliminating the home run, and home runs were up. But in you know, Chris's particular case, I think he allowed maybe 10 more than he had the previous season, and that really hurt him as well. And it was kind of a tale of 2 seasons. But, you know, you just change a couple things here and there, which I know you can't go back and rewrite history, and all of a sudden it looks like a pretty good season. You know, everyone's going to go to the 19 losses, and of course that's, you know, that's a number nobody wants next to their name. But all in all, he actually threw the ball pretty well.
So when we're talking about a strong second half of the season, you look at Jake Odorizzi. What did you like from him that you saw in the second half, and how can he build off that going into this year?
Well, Jake's just, I tease him all the time. He's just boring. You know what I mean? He's just very, very consistent, very, you know, just plain punch the clock, lunch pail type of a guy. And I would expect that he's just going to give you that 32, 33, just solid, you know, a chance to win type of starts. And I'm not sure that he really has to do much differently. He just needs to be consistent, which he has been.
When you talk about a quote-unquote boring player, but a lunch pail type of guy, what kind of impact can a player like that make, though?
It gives you a really good feeling when you know what you're going to get, basically, when you go out there, you know, and basically he's going to get you into the 6th, he's going to get you into the 7th. You know, he's probably not going to throw a no-hitter, although you say that, and he might. He's probably not going to strike out 15. You just know you're going to get a good, solid, consistent effort, and that's really, really important. It allows you to use your bullpen on days before that, you know, in a different manner than you might with, for instance, a young kid like a Blake Snell last year, where you don't know if he's going to go 3 2/3 or he's going to go 7 innings. So it's a nice comfort, nice safety net.
Absolutely. So staying on your rotation, looking at Alex Cobb, a healthy Alex Cobb, what do you think? Why do you believe he can return to form this season?
Well, we saw what he did last year when he came back, and he actually pitched pretty well. There was a very ugly start at the end. I think it might have been his last start, where there was just a bunch of base hits, ground balls, base hits, base hits, base hits. The key for Alex, and he's been a performer in the past, you know, so you're expecting that he can be that type of guy, but the key is going to be his changeup, which is basically his signature pitch, his swing and a miss pitch. And he's been scuffling with that a little bit this spring training, and there's been some really nice signs that it's come along. But even with the changeup that you would just consider kind of an adequate changeup, Alex can be extremely productive, because he does have really good command of a good fastball and outstanding curveball as well. But I would look for him to be, you know, top of the list in that rotation. I certainly hope so.
Jim, turning now to the bullpen and looking at Alex Colomé, it was a first All-Star game for him in 2016. What do you make of his transition to closer?
It was one of the more surprising things, if you will. I guess it wasn't a huge surprise, because we had been around him, but the way that he just seamlessly took to the 9th inning, you know, it's a heck of a lot different getting, you know, the first 3 outs of a game versus the last 3 outs of a game. And he pitched well as a starter. He pitched well in relief also, but for him to just step into that 9th inning role and to do so seamlessly, that was very impressive.
Staying on the back end of the bullpen, we know that Brad Boxberger is working hard to get back to full health, but what's the plan for him going forward here into the regular season?
Well, certainly he's going to have to take some time off, which he's doing right now. After he takes that time off, he's probably going to need a couple of weeks, I would anticipate, at least, before he's ready for game action as well. So So it's in the hands of our athletic training staff right now, and they're extremely good. Matter of fact, they're probably in there working on him as we speak. But I would expect to see him back probably sometime toward the end of April, and he's a huge important piece for our bullpen, as you know.
No question. So for you now, 8 days until opening day. So what do you map out for your pitchers? What's kind of the plan for them these final days of spring training?
Well, it's already mapped out. The relief pitchers, since we're talking about them, they need to throw more than 3 outs. Basically, they need to, get in a game, sit down, while we hit, and get back out there. Which most of them have done that. They need to go back-to-back days. Most of them have done that, and if not, they're scheduled to do it. And for the starting pitchers, they'll make one more start, and we'll back them off a little bit. They'll throw 3 or 4 innings versus continuing to build and throw 7 or 8 innings just to give them a little bit of a blow prior to the start of the season, and we should be all ready to go.
Jim, sounds good. We're looking forward to the rest of spring training and see you very soon at Tropicana Field.
All right. Let's see you.
Dwayne.
All right, Alex, thank you. Well, Jim Hickey giving a little rundown on the pitching situation here with opening day 8 days away. Pitch very close here. We've seen Noe Ramirez enter this game and show Beckham a nice round of sliders here. Ramirez ahead of Beckham, 1-2. And a cut and a miss. So Ramirez strikes out Beckham. 1-2-3, go the Rays. We're headed into the 5th. We'll hear from Kevin Cash, the Rays manager, when we return. Into the 5th inning, the Red Sox here this afternoon, and we're happy to have Kevin Cash join us from the dugout. Kevin, we talked last week about how this club was ready for the season to begin the week before, and so only 8 days until opening day now.
Yeah, we're ready. I think the guys are they're ready to get out of Port Charlotte and into St. Pete and open things up. We still got to finish up and get healthier and stay healthy, but today's a pretty good. Blake Snell's setting a pretty good tone for us. Like the way he's throwing the ball.
Yeah, he really is. And Kevin, when you look at this camp here in 2017, what are your overall thoughts? So far, you've been down here long enough. What do you think of the squad as you get ready to head into the regular season?
We're excited about it. I'm excited about it. I mean, I think there's been a couple players that have really given us reason to be excited. Brad Miller's one, just being able to take over at second base and play, really strong defense. Tim Beckham's had a tremendous spring. Ricky Weeks comes in, a little bit of an unknown. He's made an impact on the field, at the plate, and in the clubhouse. There's been a lot of good positives on the pitching side, along with Jamie Schultz and Austin Pruitt, some young guys that we didn't know that have come in and done a good job.
We talked about Weeks a week ago, and earlier in the telecast today, Brian and I were talking about how valuable it is to have a veteran presence in a clubhouse. And I would think that Weeks, and you mentioned that just briefly in your comments, he would fit that bill.
He has, he will. I mean, he does everything. I mean, he has come as advertised. When we were kind of courting him this offseason, trying to sign him, all the people that we talked throughout the industry just raved about the person, probably more than the player. And I say that in a good way, that he can really energize, and he just goes about his way. He's so professional, hard worker. I mean, you watch him take his round of batting practice. There's no messing around. It's time to work, and it's kind of been infectious on some of our players.
Yeah, last inning we thought that he might be a little too honest in trying to go back to the bag. Just sell that around there.
A little bit, and sometimes you're going to get away with it. But you know, that's another thing. We've asked him to learn a new position, and he's done a really good job over there at first. He's handled the plays in the dirt. He's been able to work with our unique shifting and made the most of it.
How about the health of this club? Can you give us a little update as to going forward, and particularly, I think Duffy's been a situation where we're trying to find out exactly what the situation is. Yeah,
look, it's been unique in the fact that he hasn't had any setbacks, but he just quite hasn't responded in his rehab the way maybe we were hoping coming into spring. Nothing by that he's done anything wrong. Obviously, our training staff has done everything they can. He went to the doctor. He got a good report. Now we'll just we'll continue our treatment, and you know, Ron Porterfield has all that information to put in and get him on the field as soon as possible. Believe me, nobody's itching more than Matt Duffy to get on the diamond for us.
Well, Kevin, let's get to the important stuff. Who's the first overall draft pick, first pick, round 1 in Restaurant Row for you?
In Restaurant Row.
Well, you guys have been down here for a long time. You've got limited choices.
Yeah.
What are you wearing out?
You know what? There's a pizza place, Colesio's, that has been outstanding. That's been a go-to spot for us. And then also Prime Steakhouse. The people at Prime Steakhouse have been outstanding.
There is that. I love that.
Yeah.
A great pizza you can't beat. Mm-hmm. And you know how I feel about steakhouses.
Yeah, I know. We're just trying to get you to finish a pizza.
I don't need to finish any pizza.
Well, there's a liner into right. Guerrero heads to second, and a base hit for Castillo. Well, I guess at this point, your bullpen trying to figure out how to get the ball in the hand of Colomé at the end of the game. Where does that stand?
Well, I mean, look, we got some unfortunate news with Brad Boxberger in the fact that he's not going to be able to open up with us. The lat issue is just not going away the way that we hoped, and we're going to have we need some guys to step up. It's not just one guy, there's going to be a couple. And, you know, Austin Pruitt, Jamie Schultz mentioned them earlier. They've done a tremendous job as being some young guys that have come in and have competed really well and had a really strong showing. And then you got guys like Jumbo Diaz and Tommy Hunter that have some experience that we're just now getting a look at Jumbo, and Tommy Hunter's had a good spring. So we're going to have to hold the fort down until Box is ready to go. He will be ready to go, just maybe not when we were hoping, but that is a big key, and there's still opportunity left. I mean, there's a lot of things that have not been defined that we're going to use this last week here to continue to evaluate.
Well, you know, and Kevin, that's exactly what I was going to ask. Is this something that's going to keep you up late at night going into opening day to try to figure out and finalize that bullpen?
Well, I don't know if I'll be up late at night because of it. We bake out here in the sun, but you know what? There are some young pitchers that have really put a good showing, and anytime you have a young pitcher, there's always going to be a little uncertainty. There's always going to be, you know, guys that haven't pitched in that 8th inning. There's going to be an uncertainty, but we're at the point where we're going to have to give some opportunities, and we're looking forward, and we're optimistic with the way they'll handle them.
Yeah, the spring training's been a little long, but one of the really fun parts of it is to find young pitchers like Schultz and Pruitt who emerge, and you think, boy, we might have something here.
Yep.
Yeah, and they've done nothing short of that. I mean, Austin Pruitt is a guy that has you know, the pitchability for a young pitcher is pretty off the charts. He commands 4 pitches. He cuts the ball really well. And then Jamie Schultz is the power stuff, you know, that you see in a back-end type pitcher.
Yeah, this is Sandoval connecting and hitting this one out of here to left center field on a 1-1 pitch.
We'll get him out of the way now.
Yep, that's right. So Sandoval hits his 4th home run of the spring, and that will give Boston the lead here. Well, we talked about those young pitchers and trying to get everybody healthy. And Kevin, we don't want to tie you up here for the entire inning, but we just want to say thanks for all you've done this spring and coming on in the middle of these games. We certainly appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys. I'm looking forward to getting it going here in about a week.
Okay, and quicker if we could.
All right, sounds good to me.
All right, Kevin. Thank you. All righty. Bye-bye now. So Sandoval with his long home run into left center field. And the Red Sox take a 4-3 lead. And Chris Young takes that pitch down. Well, unfortunate here for Snell in this situation. He had, as you heard Jim Hickey last inning, Hickey encouraged by that run starting in the second inning, getting the last couple outs, and then the third and fourth inning, and running into a little trouble here in the fifth.
Well, and you could see right there another fastball, and this Boston lineup has been hunting that pitch all afternoon, and it was out over the plate where Pablo Sandoval could get a good read on it and get fully extended. But you go back and you see how that inning started, and the inning started with a leadoff walk to the 9-hole. And those are those mistakes that Blake Snell has been trying to clean up as spring training has moved forward, and this one comes back to bite him.
Yeah, and that goes with command issues. You know, there are a couple of things that go hand in hand with that. A long foul ball down the left side, now to play, takes the count to 1-2. You know, here he is with facing his fourth hitter in the fifth inning. Command issues not only get you behind in the count and don't allow you to get, as you mentioned, to those really good secondary pitches. The other thing, they don't let you get deep into games either. And that's a major factor when you look at the span of an entire season. You'd love those starters to give you those innings and not have to go to the bullpen prematurely.
You know, that's something that plagued Blake Snell last year. How about this, Dwayne? He had 2 starts against the Boston Red Sox last year during obviously the regular season, and 9 walks in 9 innings, and he averaged 22 pitches an inning.
Yep.
22 pitches an inning. And that's when you talk about having some very, very short outings. You're just not afforded the pitch count to be able to get deep in a game when you're throwing that many an inning.
Yeah, and hitters are well aware of that. They're like sharks circling. When they know they have a pitcher out there that they might be able to wait out, boy, do they.
That's been a staple of the American League East for a long, long time.
Yep. Snell's going to have to cover first. Gets over there, takes the toss from Weeks. And so Young is out number 1 here in the top of the 5th. Rays have Tommy Hunter up in the bullpen. So we'll get a chance to see him, and he has thrown the ball very well this spring. That has been encouraging in the bullpen. So as frustrating as some of the injuries and things like that have been, there have been some bright spots that Kevin Cash mentioned in Pruitt and Schultz, 2 young right-handers, and Hunter, the veteran, in as a non-roster pitcher in camp, and he's thrown the ball well. Rutledge, 1 strike to count on him. Well, if you're a manager of a major league club, you're trying to make some decisions in spring training, there's always something that's going to keep you awake at night. He talked about whether he says he's baked in the sun out here, tries to go to sleep early, but he may go to sleep early, but I'll guarantee you there have been some times when he would wake up a couple hours into that sleep and mulling a couple of things over.
Boy, just think of the sheer numbers. You know, you've got the 40-man roster and then all the non-roster invitees that start out in camp, and you're trying to piece together a healthy 25-man roster that you can put out there with the idea of contending for a division title and playing into October.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you factor in some injuries to some key players at some key spots. You know, we highlighted Matt Duffy. That's starting shortstop, pretty important. Brad Boxberger, your number 1 setup guy.
Yep.
Pretty important. You know, and you start to talk about those types of injuries. Colby Rasmus, another guy that was brought in with, you know, expectations to, you know, to really provide some offense and even defense. Well, and a tremendous defender too.
And in my mind, the defense is paramount. I mean, this team has prided itself on great pitching and protecting it with defense, and that didn't always happen last year. Ground ball down to Longoria. That'll be the second out. Rutledge out at first. And I think they really felt that adding Rasmus in the outfield, you're running a pretty good arm out there in left, and a guy who can go get the ball, so he could help. You figured Duffy was going to help there. Ramos, who's not going to be ready for probably a couple of months in to catch, you're upgrading there. You know, you're looking to upgrade the defense to help the pitching, and now you've got some injuries that are going to prevent you from doing, or at least implementing the plan immediately, and that's what they hoped they had been able to do. Well, we're going to see Tommy Hunter and take a break. We'll be back. Out of the game after 4 2/3, charged with 4 runs, 6 hits, one of those a home run, and he leaves with the bases empty, so that's the line on him today.
Well, it's been an up and down spring for Blake Snell, and this outing very much the same, up and down. We saw some good things out of Blake Snell. You see him just overpowering Marco Hernandez right there, tying up with the fastball up and in, a good off-speed pitch down and away. But this just seemed to be a Boston offense that would not get off of the fastball. And right here, Pablo Sandoval got one that he could get extension on, and that was the big blast of the day, a 3-run homer, adding up to 3 of those 4 runs given up by Blake here this afternoon.
Well, a young left-hander, it has been an inconsistent spring for him. And the one thing that you don't want to see him do is to start being overly concerned with that. Just keep working and try to find where you need to be.
Yeah. Well, the one thing is, you listen to his comments, and you get the feeling right off the bat that he's not too worried about it.
Yeah.
But you just wonder, that those are the things that you wonder, hey, listen, make sure that the words match what's actually going on upstairs.
Tommy Hunter comes on to get a ground ball from Marco Hernandez for the final out. We're going to go to the bottom of the 5th, 4-3 Boston. Brought to you by WB Mason, the official office supply company of the Tampa Bay Rays, and by your Southern Chevy dealers. Blake Snell started for the Rays, 4 2/3, a little over 90 pitches. We're headed into the bottom of the 5th. Tommy Hunter in the game right now for the Rays on the hill. Made one pitch to close out the top of the inning. And the Rays will have Steven Souza Jr. to open the bottom of the 5th against Noe Ramirez, who came on, got the final out in the 4th. It'll be Luke Maile to follow Souza Jr. and then back around to the top of the order. Souza Jr. bunted his way on to begin the bottom of the 3rd, and that led to a couple runs. Further emphasizing the importance of being able to bunt your way on occasionally. With the leadoff man on, that increases your percentage of scoring a run or two. That's a strike. Yeah, Ramirez, if you're a right-handed hitter, gives you a little something to think about out there.
It starts with the arm angle. You know, nothing traditional about the arm angle, and by lowering it like Ramirez does, he's going to get more run on the fastball. He can sweep the breaking ball, obviously making it very difficult on the right-handed hitters.
And that foul ball got a part of his catcher. So Blake Swihart shakes that off.
Well, you run the fingers through the hair too, and who knows how you can load up that baseball.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of possibilities in that hairdo. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Just have good body.
I'm impressed by all hair.
A little tapper. Just a little spin on it, and the throw to first is in time. Down off the mound, Ramirez makes that play.
These can sometimes be tricky. Some awkward spin, but Ramirez all over it. Sidearm flip to first base.
Yeah, if you're Rutledge, the first baseman there, you're not quite sure because you've got a guy out there who's a little unorthodox to begin with. And then, as you point out, you never know what could get on that ball. Run your hands through your hair. And then it's a little different angle. Here's Maile on the ground, picked up there by Marrero, who makes a nice play and throws out Maile.
Well, that was a very nice play because that ball was well struck by Luke Maile. You see Marrero giving a little bit of ground, and then the spin and accurate throw.
And so it's the top of the order now, Logan Morrison. Well, we're not seeing all of the firepower in this Boston lineup today. They have a split squad, but when you look at their club and talk to most people, I think there's a general consensus in the East that a lot of people are picking Boston. The Red Sox won 93 games last year and then dropped the division series, swept 3 by Cleveland. So the Red Sox come into camp feeling they have something to prove. And when you see, look at the youth and talent on that list right there, starting with Mookie Betts. And it's hard to think. Steve Trout, maybe. I mean, Mike Trout. Mookie Betts and Mike Trout. Got to be 1 and 2, and you could almost flip a coin.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best overall players in the game, offensively, defensively, can hit for power, some average, can run. You think all the way across that you know, Xander Bogaerts, the year that he had last season, Andrew Benintendi,
yep.
You know, he's going to be in there full go this year.
Yep, that's right.
That's why when you think about that offense, the loss of David Ortiz That's a huge loss, but you think about Sandoval, Benintendi chipping in to try to make up for it. We'll see.
Well, we're through 5 as Morrison is out on strikes. Boston leads 4-3. Sixth inning, it's 4-3 Boston over the Rays. Blake Swihart's going to lead it off for Boston, and while he hits, let's go to the Rays dugout to Alex.
Hey there, Dwayne. I'm joined now by Rays pitcher Blake Snell. And Blake, just take us through, what were your thoughts about your outing today?
Yeah, felt good. Felt like me and Luke were working really well. I really like what we had going, and I like that I felt back in the season stride.
So Jim Hickey was telling us as we're wrapping up spring training here, the final 8 days, he's kind of mapped out a plan for all the pitchers. What are you planning on working on? What's your focus this week?
Yeah, just attacking the strike zone, staying ahead. That's all I've been really focused on doing, and I felt happy with my performance. I felt happy with the way me and Luke were working. Also, the defense, there was some good plays, so I'm happy with all of us as a collective unit.
Like, when you talk about the defense, what is it like knowing you have Evan Longoria, Brad Miller, Kevin Kiermaier in the outfield?
Yeah, I mean, they're all really special. They're all really good. I feel really comfortable on the mound with them all behind me. They're all really, really good players, so it's fun to go to battle with them.
For you this season, in what ways was spring training different, knowing that you had earned a spot in the starting rotation?
Yeah, I mean, it feels good knowing that, but I still know that there's a lot of work I need to do, and there's a lot that I got to do to prove that I'm what they think I am and what I know I can be.
All right, we'll keep up the hard work, Blake. We appreciate your time and sharing your thoughts with us. And Dwayne, BA, send it back up to you.
All right, thank you very much. So a little over 90 pitches for Blake Snell. 4 2/3, touch for the home run by Sandoval, and that ended a nice little run he had in the second, third, and fourth innings. Steve Selski coming over from Cincinnati. Strike the count on Selski in right field. He has singled and reached on an error. With Tommy Hunter out there. Swihart had dropped a base hit into shallow right to begin the inning.
Now Tommy Hunter, the well-traveled Tommy Hunter. And he's done a little bit of everything in his career. Starter, transitioned to the bullpen a few years ago. Still brings a big fastball. Not a big strikeout guy. Pitches to contact, but he's in attack mode all the time.
It's a ball, 2-strike count. Pretty close right there. And it's now 2-2.
Did you see Fielden Colbreth flinch? And
Yeah.
he wanted to call that thing a strike. That was a good pitch. Very close.
You know, the other thing Hunter brings along with, being able to sink the ball the way he does and good velocity. But he's a guy, he's been to the World Series. He's been to multiple postseasons. I think he was in 3 postseasons. And it's good to have those guys around. Hunter takes off, pitch fouled right back into the screen.
You become a calming influence. I can remember really the first time that I got thrown out into the bullpen was 1997 American League Championship Series against the Baltimore Orioles. And I got sent out to the pen, and Mike Hargrove told me, you be ready from pitch number 1. Because I don't know how I'm going to use you, but I need you ready from the beginning of the game. And I don't know how they did it. I remember pacing the first 3 or 4 innings and sitting down next to Eric Plunk, and I said, how do you do this for 162 games a year? Because I'm a mess right now, and I'm tired.
And there's a whole skill set to getting that done.
It's a routine.
Yeah.
And it didn't take long to fall into a routine, and then it was fine. But certainly a veteran, influence, a guy who's been there and done that at the highest level, can be a calming factor out there, and they do make a difference, because the life in the bullpen, you talk about a full season, it's different. They're their own group. They have their own. It's like being on. It's like one of those movies where you're out on an island and they have their own set of rules that doesn't apply to anybody else, and no one else would even understand.
Yeah, and a bullpen is sort of an island.
It is. There's some goofy guys out there.
You know what it's like, really, in grade school. If you were in grade school in a class and disrupting the class, and then they would send you out to the hall. It's as if they took like 4 or 5 of you and sent you to the hall. You go, hey, this is pretty cool being out in the hall. Everybody's in class. We're in the hall. That's what the bullpen's like.
It's the land of misfit toys, for sure.
In the left, Dickerson on the run. Cannot get there in time. Nice job, though, to keep the runners at first and second. Swihart stops there. Selski drops a base hit inside the left field line.
These balls not well struck right off the end of the bat. You see Selski just extend that swing a hair and just kind of soft serves that ball out into left field.
So 2 gone, or 2 men on, nobody out, and Bryce Brentz steps in. Brentz has a double today. Out of play. Rays got 3 runs, all against Haviland. And Snell gave up the 4 to Boston. Now the Red Sox threaten with nobody out in the 6th. Kevin Cash getting some sage advice right there.
Chico.
Yep.
I wonder what he's streaming on that pad right there.
A lot of valuable matchup information, I'm sure.
I just saw him swipe right.
Looking at the matchups. 1-2 the count here. Two balls, 2 strikes. is on deck. Fastball inside, full count. Time call. That might be a souvenir that's loose out there and left. Yeah, you can't lose that. Worked too hard to get a souvenir baseball.
He might want to hang on to that. Wants to show off the arm and now is upset about it.
Cut a miss. Prince missing the fastball there for the first out.
And I think he was wondering, was that a strike? And it most certainly was. Tommy Hunter burying this fastball right to the outside corner and getting it under the swing of Bryce Brentz.
Yeah, nice to have the old 96 in reserve. Here's Marrero, who struck out and walked. This one will skip all the way back over the screen. So a wild pitch moves both men into scoring position.
There's another fastball down in the dirt that Luke Maile attempted to backhand, and you see that ball right off of the right quad, and up and over the screen it goes. Boy, it's tough when you're trying to, it's one thing to anticipate a breaking ball in the dirt, completely different when you're talking about anticipating a fastball from Blake Snell and now from Tommy Hunter in the mid to upper 90s in the dirt and trying to react to that. You're not expecting that pitch there.
Yeah, and you find yourself in a do or die situation. And so the runners move up. Into center field. Here comes Kiermaier, and he gets there to make the catch. Runners are going to hold. Kiermaier out there in basket fashion made the grab and then got the ball back into the infield. And the runners had nothing to do but hold.
Well, this is some of the value that Kevin Kiermaier brings. Being able to close, being able to make the catch, a strong arm. He throws that ball on the run. No chance at all to score this run. First of all, prevent the run from making the catch, and then to be able to make that throw on the run and keep them where they are.
Now here's an extreme example, but as we talked earlier in the telecast about defense protecting pitching, I mean, that's the perfect example. And when he was missing last year, the Rays suffered mightily. Pitch inside here to Castillo. The Rays were 14-34 without Kiermaier.
Enough said.
And that's one of the reasons right there. Runner does not score. That's the second out. Now you've got a chance to get out of this. 1-1 the count.
Well, and with a team that plays a lot of close games, that ball falls in. That's 2 runs at times. At least 1, maybe 2 runs for the Red Sox. And so that defense becomes invaluable. And not only does he help out the pitching staff, but he takes off some of the pressure of the right fielder, the left fielder, because of the ground that he can cover.
Two balls and a strike. Puts him behind. Hunter, 3 balls and a strike here to Castillo. The chopper, tough play. Beckham in and out, not in time. The run scores. Swihart crosses the plate. Selsky to third. Castillo a hit and a run batted in. It makes it 5-3.
Nothing could be done here. Tim Beckham doing everything that he can. That was all about Castillo pounding that ball maybe right off the plate or right out in front of the plate and getting that high chop. Just an impossible play. Frustrating hit to give up.
Jim Hickey out to the hill, chatting here with Hunter. Well, it's a one-run inning so far, and Kevin Kiermaier with an outstanding play in this inning, but that's just an old hat for him.
Well, and he can get it done a lot of different ways. Covers a lot of ground, extremely athletic. Can make plays to the left, to the right. Great leaping ability, a strong arm. And emerging offensively, too. When you think about the way that he's able to stay in against left-handed pitching, he's got some power, balls middle in, can lay down the bunt. That's becoming a bigger part of his weaponry, and I guess that's why you lock him up long term.
Sandoval takes a pitch upstairs. Sandoval hit a home run in the 5th inning. Takes a big cut on the pitch up, and it's 1-1. Sandoval coming off the shoulder surgery that cost him last year. A lot more success from the left side. 1-2. You go back to 15 when he hit from the right side. I think he was 2 for 41 in 2015 as a right-handed hitter. 0-49.
Well, it has been a rough couple of years in Boston for Pablo Sandoval, but he's got an opportunity to turn the narrative on its head here in 2017. He's going to get every opportunity to succeed in a very strong lineup. And you know, it's funny when guys, you know, face some adversity, you're going to do that from time to time. There's no doubt about it. It's how you bounce back from it. And there's a nice right-handed swing. Got a fastball that he could handle. Got it out of the yard today. Big 3-run homer. And he has been given a second opportunity in a tough baseball market.
Yep.
And we'll obviously have a front row seat to see how he does all season long.
This one foul out of play. Well, being healthy is a big part of that. As we mentioned, that shoulder surgery, back from that. Count still 1-2. Hunter got the last out of the 5th inning and gave up a couple of tough hits here to open the 5th. Red Sox now have men at first and third. They've scored a run. Hey, does Clawford have a? He's got a pizza, doesn't he?
He does.
There you go. Ground ball up the middle over the bag. Beckham right there to make the play. Red Sox settle for one, leave two. And they now have a 5-3 lead as the Rays come in to hit in the 6th. As we go to the bottom of the 6th inning, Rays have more savings for you today and online only. Get 50% off lower level tickets for the game Friday, April 7th when the Rays play the Toronto Blue Jays. Be a part of the action. Visit RaysBaseball.com/flash today. Rays up. New pitcher, the tall lefty Edgar Olmos on the hill. Haviland for 3 2/3. Ramirez for an inning and a third. And now it's Olmos.
Almost last year with Norfolk, AAA of the Baltimore Orioles. Got some big league time back in 2013 with the Marlins. That took a while, Dwayne, but the unicorn officially is kaput.
Kaput. Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
also in 2015 with Seattle, getting us back on the right path. But he's got some big league time and looking to make an impression here with the Red Sox. I'm so sorry. That's a rookie mistake.
Yeah, but
walked right into it.
First time that our entire crew has been together here this spring.
Yeah.
And that's why you do these games.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Get the mistakes out of the way.
There have been a couple times when I've been fixated on former Chicago White Sox left-handers for some reason. I'm still trying to figure that one out. So here's Kevin Kiermaier now to face the lefty Olmos.
The mind starts to drift. You get midway through a spring training game. It's tough to lock it in for 9.
Yep.
Sometimes 10. In fact, that's what they should do. Spring training games, when you go extra innings, you just pull out the WBC gimmick. Just throw a couple runners out there with nobody out and finish it.
Yep. 2-0. Although it seems to me that this year, the Rays have had some ties. They come in 11, 13, and 3. Red Sox have had a tie or two. I think more clubs are doing that.
Guys are, Yep. No, you run through your pitching staff and you're like, okay, we're done.
Yep.
They're not afraid of the tie anymore.
I mean, it is.
You do get a point too, which is always big.
It is spring training, and you get your work in. It's the get your work in league. Ground ball. There's Kiermaier with a base hit. Hustles his way down to first with a turn. Kevin now 2 for 3. That's the other thing about Kevin, and you mentioned the emergence of the offensive side of his game. And he was hurt, as we all know, last year, and his average went down. His on-base percentage made a significant move in the right direction.
Well, and I think that, being up in the order, the ability to drop the bunt down, something that you're going to see more and more of. Showing right here what we talked about earlier, staying in on a tough lefty with a tough arm angle.
Longoria takes it to right, caught by Selski.
And then just think about the extra hits, the extra bases that are going to be picked up because of the foot speed. How explosive he is out of the box. Infield hits, turning singles into doubles. We've seen plenty of that. A lot that he brings to the table.
Brad Miller, the lefty, in against the southpaw Olmos. Pitch is down. 1-0. It's been a pleasant afternoon here for Rays baseball against the Red Sox in Grapefruit League play. 2-run game right now. Rays trail 5-3. Miller takes this one down. 2-0. Special day tomorrow. Anna Satterley's having her 90th birthday tomorrow. Her granddaughter Shannon takes care of us in the booth here and makes sure that we pay attention. She's our stage manager. And her grandmother, who has been a great Rays fan from the outset of this franchise, has a big birthday tomorrow.
That is a big one. 90?
Breaking ball, not a ground ball, hit to the right side through. Down to second goes Kiermaier. Brad Miller is aboard. So 2 men aboard here in the 6th.
Well, the breaking ball, Brad Miller rolls over, but rolls over strong enough to get it in the hole. Marco Hernandez giving it a game effort, comes up a little bit short. Nice way to end the day with base hit.
So to bring up Corey Dickerson. Dickerson opened the scoring for the Rays with a home run in the 2nd inning. This one lofted into short left. That's going to be caught. Bruce coming in. So 2 men aboard with 2 outs now. Hitter will be Ricky Weeks Jr. Peter Maris is running at first. Into left center field. Brent's cutting across, dives, and comes up with that catch. Diving grab by Brent's to rob Weeks of an extra base hit and prevent the Rays the opportunity to tie this game. And here's a look at the diving grab. Brent's into left center field. We are through 6. 5-3 Boston. Fox Sports Sun brought to you by WB Mason, the official office supply company of the Tampa Bay Rays. Ball game moves into the 7th inning. Justin Marks will take over on the hill for the Rays, their 3rd pitcher. And the first pitch is a strike call to Chris Young. Let's check in again with Alex downstairs. Alex?
Dwayne, I am joined now by Corey Dickerson. And Corey, let's go back. Bottom of the 2nd, a home run for you. What do you like that you put together offensively today?
Along the bat, trying to see pitches. I think that was my main goal lately, especially with the weeks ago. Get deep in the count, see a lot of pitches, helps me get my timing. Not necessarily the result, but luckily I got a good result out of that one. So.
When you talk about having a week to go, how are you feeling? How's the body doing getting ready for the regular season?
Feeling really good. That's one of the main priorities is, going to the season healthy. don't go, go too hard and hurt yourself early. But I feel great. I feel like I'm running well and seeing the ball well. So hopefully just take it into the season.
Corey, so just take us through, when you leave here today, you're driving home in your car, how do you judge yourself? What do you hang your hat on?
I try to count the positives in a day. How did I help the team today? I play hard. I try to count those things, and hopefully they outweigh the negatives. And that kind of keeps away from, did I get a hit, or, the really tough stuff that's really hard to do in this game. So I try to keep it simple and play hard. And if I help the team in many ways, I can't, give myself too hard of a time.
So now with 8 days left until opening day, what's your focus this week?
Hit the ball hard, have long at-bats, be healthy. It's pretty simple. I think whenever the lights come on, it's a different adrenaline that everybody has, and the game's a lot different. It speeds up, and to be ready for that and just play hard. Have confidence in these guys, and they have confidence in me, and go out there and win ball games.
What do you think about that right out of the gate? This team is getting tested. Opening day, opening series, it's the Yankees.
Yeah, that's what's great about our division. Every team is good. Every team brings it, and that makes us get up for the game, pumps us up, and we never have to worry about having enough energy.
Sounds good, and keep up that energy. Corey, thanks so much for your time and sharing your thoughts with us today. Dwayne, BA.
All right, thank you very much. We're in the top of the 7th inning, a walk to Young. And Josh Ockamy is running at first for him. Sam Travis is the hitter batting for Josh Rutledge. And he goes after that pitch upstairs. Well, they're talking about the schedule, and here it is. Opening day just 8 days away, starting Sunday against the Yankees.
Important for this team to peak going into the season, because you can see you get right into division play. It's going to be difficult. Yankees and Blue Jays at home. You go right back on the road to Yankee Stadium for their home opener. It's going to be, that's a difficult beginning of the season schedule. However, it allows you the opportunity to get off to a great start within the division and kind of set the tone for the year.
Chad De La Guerra pinch hitting, takes a strike after the strikeout of Travis. So a walk and a strikeout, 1 on, 1 out. Hunter worked an inning and a third in relief of Blake Snell.
Well, this is what I'll tell you, Dwayne. In a spring training game, when you get into the double ear flap section of the game, that's when you have to go to work. That's when you have to go to work.
That's it.
Scouting reports, you don't have any.
Have to make your own evaluation.
You're doing the best you can. That's right. It's the eye test.
Down to short. Beckham to second, 1, and Maris turns the double play in the middle. 6-4-3. That takes care of the Red Sox in the 7th. 7th inning stretch time. 5-3 Boston. Just 8 days away, and we have you covered on Fox Sports Sun. Our coverage kicks off at noon with a special 1-hour edition of Rays Live, the pregame, with Rich Hollenberg and Orestes Destrada, along with player interviews and guests. Then first pitch will be at 1 o'clock with Chris Archer going to the hill against Masahiro Tanaka and the New York Yankees.
I think that game opens up the season. I mean, around baseball.
Yeah, that's right. Very first.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Chris Archer will rear back, more than likely fire something in there in that 95 to 97 range, and we're off and running.
Yep. 8 days away.
Well, I don't know about you, but the older you get, off seasons. There is no off season, even for us.
It's
we
quick,
don't do
isn't
anything. It flies.
Before you know it.
It flies.
Yep.
And here we go again. I wish I had a telestrator right now. Could have had some fun right there.
Well, I know. That's probably why you don't have one.
That's a good point.
Well, Tim Beckham's going to lead it off here in the bottom of the 7th. Beckham 0 for 2. Austin Maddox on the hill. And the pitch is a strike. Cut and a miss. So it's 0-2. Almost worked 1 inning. Gave up a couple of hits. No runs. And Beckham fouls that one out of play. Chad Travis stays on to play first. Chad De La Gara stays in the game and plays second base. Jose Rosario is in there at shortstop. Matt Dominguez is in the game at third, replacing Sandoval. And a cut and a miss. So Beckham is out on strikes. Danny Mars in center field, replacing Castillo. And Brian Bogusevic is in right field, replacing Selski. So Beckham is out of there. Steven Souza Jr. will be the hitter. Sprint's still in the game. Bryce Sprint, he's in left. Souza, who bunted his way on back in the third to open the inning, has scored a run. Bats with 1 out and the bases empty in the 7th. Maddox got that fastball in there in the mid-90s.
That was a slider that got away from him, but that was the pitch he used to strike out Tim Beckham. And that fastball, you're right, not afraid to use it, firm.
Back into the screen, 1-2. Boston scored a run in the first. The Rays tied it with a run in the 2nd inning. Scored 2 in the 3rd. Checking over Swihart, the catcher, to make sure he's okay after feeling the bat of Steven Souza Jr. Red Sox scored 3 in the 5th inning and added a run in the 6th to make it a 2-run game. Rays hitting in the bottom of the 7th. Fastball is upstairs. And there's a full count. Ball 4. They missed up with that one, and the Rays have a base runner. Going to get Luke Maile to the plate. Nathan Lucas will run at first. So Souza's out of the game. Maile into center. That's going to fall for a base hit. Lucas trying to go to third. The throw is going to be in time. He is cut down. Just a slight hesitation. And he's cut down. Mars in center field made the throw to Dominguez at third, who put the tag on him.
Yeah, and it was a snap tag by Dominguez. You know, Lucas was off and running, and that's what gave him the opportunity to head to third. But Mars with the strong throw, and Dominguez gets that tag down there in a hurry. A close play. Got to read it, got to find it. Slight hesitation, picks it back up. I immediately went down to see if Kevin Cash was going to ask for a little bit of time.
Well, here is Morrison hitting a fly ball to center, caught by Mars. The Rays leave a man, and we go to the 8th. 5-3 Boston. We go to the 8th inning. Boston leading, and the Red Sox are coming in to hit. Rays Spring Training Baseball, always live with the MLB.com at-bat mobile app. Stay connected all spring with radio broadcasts, video highlights, stats, news, and more. Download MLB.com at-bat today. It's your #1 app for live baseball. Pitcher number 4 for the Rays is Ryan Garten, following Snell, Hunter, and Marks.
Well, 37 games with the Rays a year ago. ERA 4.35, 33 strikeouts, 39 in a third inning. He's got that firm fastball. Four-seamer, likes to work it up in the zone, try to entice hitters with the swing and get the pop-ups and the swing and miss. Well, you know, we talked to Kevin Cash earlier about making bullpen decisions. Ryan Garten, another guy in the mix. A week to go to continue to impress.
And the first pitch, Swihart takes it inside. Base hit right back through the middle. Swihart has his second hit. So the Boston catcher, who has been in there for the length of this game, leads off the eighth with a single.
It'll be interesting to see what the Red Sox decide to do with Swihart. When you think about the catching situation there, you've got Christian Vasquez, you've got Sandy Leone, and now Blake Swihart, who they thought he was versatile enough to put him into the outfield last year.
Yeah, got hurt.
Ended up hurting himself, right?
Okasevic hits a foul ball. McCarthy reaching across into foul territory. Ron Bokasevic entered the game to play right field and now hits here in the eighth. Let's see, the Red Sox have had Brent's in the game and Swihart in the game for its entirety. And the Rays have had Tim Beckham in there. And this pitch is ball, and Luke Maile behind the plate. Technically, Logan Morrison, you would think, would still be in the game as the DH, but as position players go, 2-2. Two and one to count. And to left, Braxton Lee is there to make the catch. Well, this is one of the reasons we mentioned earlier how most people feel that this Red Sox team would be the team to beat in the East, and the addition of Chris Sale and that big deal with the White Sox, and with David Price and a little elbow situation, Sale becomes even more valuable.
And no question about it. And raised some eyebrows around the game when Dave Dombrowski was able to pull that trade off. Didn't see that one coming.
Brents takes a strike. Brents has a double in 3 at-bats. And a base hit into center. That's going to score Swihart. So Swihart scores. Okasevic moves up to second. So he hit that ball to left. He hung around and was at first. So 3 hits now in this inning. Nobody out with a run home. Bokusevic is aboard. Rosario hitting. Pitch is popped first base side and will be handled by McCarthy for the first out. Runners at first and second.
Okay, Dwayne, I know that this game is hit that spot, kind of dragging a hair.
We're looking. I know what you're after.
I'm wondering how that's not the second out.
What happened to Braxton Lee in left on the ball hit by Bokusevic?
It certainly looked like it was a fly ball to left.
Yeah, but he stayed in the game and ran.
Well, I know he did, but how? He caught the ball.
It's an experiment.
A timeout. Let's take a look.
Here it is. Look.
This is it. Fly ball to left field. Braxton Lee with the bead. That's an out. And he stayed at first.
Yeah, he stayed at first.
He stayed at first. He's at second base now. How is that? That's remarkable.
The only conceivable way that would first come to mind would be catcher's interference.
Oh.
But they put a hit up on the board.
Well, we know that that's not that.
So they could have catcher's interference.
But they gave him a hit. Clearly it was a soft fly to left.
Catcher's interference.
Is that what we're going with?
Yeah, it's catcher's interference.
I guess that's the only thing it could be. I thought I was going crazy up here.
They're trying to keep it a secret. Mars fouling one. Mars entered the game in center, but here it is.
Ah.
There, you see that?
Yes, it did.
Yeah. That's an error on Luke Maley, his second of the spring.
Not bad contact for catcher's interference.
And that's a foul ball back by Mars. Yeah. Well, the scoreboard, just so that you know, the scoreboard's going a little nuts as well because they posted that as a hit.
A lot of people checking out early.
Two strikes the count. Mars the hitter. And he chops it foul. That's a foul out of play. And a foul again out of play. So a base hit for Swihart to start the inning, and then Bokusevic hit that fly ball to left but reached on catcher's interference. Brent's then single. Miller ran for him. That got a run home, that base hit by Brent. Rosario fouled out to McCarthy and 2 strikes. Mars battling. Fouled away 4 pitches with 2 strikes. And takes one for a ball. Scoreboard on its way to self-correcting. Now 11 hits for the Red Sox and still just one error on the Rays. There's a cut and a miss, and Mars is out on strikes. So 2 gone.
Now that was quite the battle between Garton and Mars, and Garton comes out ahead, breaking ball right there, and finally able to get a swing and a miss.
Here's Matt Dominguez hitting for the first time in this game. And he takes that first pitch. Fastball in for a strike. And now 2 errors on the board. So all is well here. Scoreboard on top of it. 6-11-0 for Boston and 3-8-2 for the Rays. Red Sox have added a run in the 8th. Two balls and a strike. Two and two. Matt Dominguez, formerly the first-round selection by the Marlins. Went to Houston, then the Brewers, the Blue Jays, and now the Red Sox. Oh, broken bat, ground ball past Beckham, who tried to scoop and misconnected. A run is in. Lukasevic, who reached on the catcher's interference, scores. An error charged to Beckham. So another run is home. Men at first and third, and it's 7-3. And recently, defense has been an issue for the Rays. 3 errors today, 2 in this inning. They've now committed 40 errors this spring.
Yeah, a disturbing trend coming off of a season ago where that plagued the Rays. Too many extra outs. In this case, it leads to an extra run.
Alchemy up there. He entered as a pinch runner. That was in the 7th. Now he hits in the 8th. And very quickly it's an 0-2 count. So a couple of unearned runs across here has made it a 4-run game. And strike 3 on a cut and a miss. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Garton. Bottom of the 8th coming. Boston by 4. Bottom of the 8th inning of the Rays coming in to hit, and we're going to check in once again with Alex. How you doing?
Hey there, Dwayne. Well, since 2009, Charlotte Sports Park has been the spring training home to the Tampa Bay Rays. But it was this year they had a new addition in the clubhouse, a ping pong table. It turns out Kevin Cash came up with the idea because he read an article that the Atlanta Falcons put a ping pong table in their locker room. It helped develop team chemistry. And actually, it's done the same for the Rays. Guys are having fun with each other off the field, as well as getting those competitive juices going. So, BA, Dwayne, I want to know, since this is our first broadcast together, if the two of you are playing against each other in ping pong, who wins?
Ooh.
Do you play righty or lefty?
It depends. It depends on whether BA's healthy or not.
Oh, I'm healthy. It just depends on what time of the night it is. Whether I start seeing 2 ping pong balls.
I'll get him to swing at the wrong one. Well, here we go into the bottom of the 8th.
Play with 2 paddles and cover it. Hey, you know what else it does? It also helps with the hand-eye coordination. So the guys are having fun, a lot of camaraderie, but then there's some athleticism involved.
Sure.
Oh!
Sounds like a great idea.
First road trip of the year, New York. Me and you, buddy. Foosball and ping pong.
Chandler Shepard is the new pitcher, and Malik Smith at the plate for the Rays. Smith fouls this one back. 0-2. Skied to left. Derek Miller runs out of room. Well, one of the things Kevin Cash talked about in the offseason in terms of additions to this team was some speed in the outfield. And Malik Smith would fill that bill. Last year with Atlanta, the Rays technically got him from the Seattle Mariners. And Smith down in the count right now, but utilizes that speed and bunting as part of his game. And starts to go, but holds up. It's now 1-2. And is out on strikes.
I'll tell you what, the swing right there by Malik Smith lets you know about how nasty that breaking ball was by Shepard. Well, that was filthy. Late. And look at the depth.
Well, Joe McCarthy bats now in the 3rd spot. Strike the count. Oh, 2.
Shepard flashing some explosive stuff here in the 8th inning. Good fastball. That breaking ball has been sharp.
Bounces it foul. 0-2. Shepard out of the University of Kentucky. A ball, 2 strikes. Shepard groomed primarily as a bullpen guy, and he strikes out McCarthy, so he gets Smith and McCarthy Two outs with the bases empty, and Peter Maris will bat. Maris entered as a pinch runner. Pops it up. That's a foul ball out of play. Maris last year at Bowling Green at the A level hit .270. It's a ball and a strike. Maris with 2 years of minor league baseball under his belt. Smith has struck out. McCarthy a strikeout victim of Shepard. Jimmy Schultz busy in the bullpen for the Rays. And the check swing on a pitch up takes the count to 2-2. Schultz, hard-throwing right-hander.
One of the surprises of spring training. Anxious to see him pitch.
And a cut and a miss. Shepard strikes out the side in the 8th. We go to the 9th in a 7-3 Boston lead. (7-3) Boston leading the Rays, moving on to the 9th inning. And today's player of the game, brought to you by W.B. Mason, is Corey Dickerson, who's had a good spring overall, and today hit his 4th home run of the year. Hit this one to the opposite field. Dickerson making a good defensive play out there and then hitting one out the other way.
Yeah, both difficult. You talk about those line drives that are right at you. As an outfielder, made a shoestring catch. Took a ball that was up and away and flipped it over the fence in left field with his forearms and wrists. I mean, it shows you his strength.
Well, Jamie Schultz, the new pitcher for the Rays, facing Sam Travis. was pinch hit and struck out in the 7th inning. One and one. Schultz, the 25-year-old right-hander. Two and one. Schultz was at AAA Durham last year. Struck out 163 in 130 and 2/3 innings. Into center field. Smith is out there to make the catch. He also walked 68 men in those 130 and 2/3 innings. So from time to time, that walk total a little higher than you might like. But an impressive arm and a lot of swing and misses.
No question. And that's what you start to focus on, the positives of that big arm. The fact that he is able to go out, get the swing and a miss and a walk, or excuse me, and the strikeout. When you do look at the walks and you start to think about a potential role, bullpen guys, that's one thing that managers can't stand, is going to bring a guy into a game and where you can't really trust him to throw strikes. And he has made great strides this spring. He's had a great spring.
Drops that one in there for a strike.
Yeah, and he's not a guy that's just going to blow you away with the fastball. You see how that breaking ball and the depth that he's able to get with that pitch. So pitching with a lot of confidence right now.
And he takes care of De La Garra, the second baseman, in short order. So 2 up and 2 down.
Feeling good with the breaking ball. Here it is again. Look at the depth. That is filthy.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Rays and the selections they make in the bullpen. There's some opportunity there. First pitch, Swihart takes a strike. Takes a look at that one for ball one, 1-1. Well, he's got enough stuff out there to put hitters on the defensive.
Well, that swing right there by Swihart, you could see how in between he was. Got a couple of good looks in the previous at-bat of the breaking ball. Saw one himself, and then all of a sudden the fastball jumps up on him, and he's way late. So it shows you exactly what Schultz can do to an opposing hitter. Really mess with the timing.
It's a 2-2 count. Last pitch stayed wide. And there's strike 3 call. Got him looking. 2 strikeouts in the inning. Bottom of the 9th coming. 7-3 Boston. Of the 9th inning, Red Sox hold a 7-3 lead over the Rays. Now the Rays have added to their catching core, signing Derek Norris, the veteran catcher, to a one-year deal today. Spent time with Oakland and San Diego.
Well, right into the mix he goes.
Yep.
Not going to waste any time. He's got to, you know, the challenge for Derek Norris will be getting to know this pitching staff in a week. Putting extra time in, extra homework.
Yeah, he'd been in camp with the Nationals, and they signed Matt Wieters, and that made that situation a little crowded over there. And so the Rays make a deal with Norris. Last year with San Diego, hit 186 there with 14 home runs. Well, here's Wong to lead off, and a bunt here in the bottom of the ninth inning is going to put him aboard. First pitch from Chandler Shepard, who struck out the side in the eighth inning, and Wong puts down the bunt base hit.
Not a bad play. I mean, Shepard, we saw how sharp he was the previous inning, and then Wong gets a perfect pitch to bunt, lays down a beauty, and leadoff runner aboard.
Now Lee, Braxton Lee, will get his first trip to the plate. He takes the ball. A ball and a strike. And behind 1-2, Lee out of Mississippi. Spent last year at AA Montgomery. Two and two. Shortstop out at second, and a wide throw to first. So Wong is retired at second base on the force, and Lee winds up at second base on the error charged to the second baseman on the throw.
Well, had an opportunity for the double play there, but that throw wide by De La Guerra.
So a man at second base with one out. Here's Tim Beckham, who's played the entire game. And he takes a strike. Beckham 0 for 3 with a couple strikeouts today. Into left center field. That's going to be in there. Extra bases. One run scores, and Beckham's on his way to second with a double. So it's 7-4. It's his fifth double of the spring.
Now does a nice job of staying back here on a breaking ball that kind of hung out over the plate. Good recognition. And then just sweeps that ball out into left center field. Takes another run for the Rays. They inch closer.
Nathan Lucas fouls it off the facing of the dugout. Strike one. Timeout. Swihart heads to the mound. It's now 1-1. Shot into right. That's going to be in there for a base hit. Here comes Beckham in to score. Throw to second, and he's going to be out there trying to stretch that into a double. Bokasevich throws him out. So base hit, a run batted in, and 9-6 on the putout. So the Rays have scored twice here in the bottom of the ninth to cut the gap to 2 runs. But they run into it out there.
Boy, strong throw. Able to get the tag there just before the foot gets to the bag.
So Luke Mailey's up here with 2 outs and the base is empty. One strike to count to Mailey. So the hits are even at 11 apiece. But the Rays are down by 2 and down to their final out. And a fly ball into center field. That will end this game. The Rays come up with a couple runs on 3 hits and an error in the 9th inning and fall 2 runs short. So for the Rays and the Red Sox, this one is over. 7-11-1 for Boston, 5-11-3 for the Rays. Ramirez the winner, Snell the loser for 5,809 here in Port Charlotte. We'll be with you Sunday, opening day, April 2nd on Fox Sports Sun when the Rays take on the Yankees. Our coverage begins at noon. For Brian Anderson and Alex Corder and Dwayne Stats, hope you've enjoyed the telecast. If not the outcome, so long from Port Charlotte.